In the simplest of terms, what is blockchain? Blockchain is the underlying technology for currencies today, such as Bitcoin and Ethereum and some others that you may have heard of. But for now, let's focus on its biggest implementation, which is Bitcoin. And effectively, it's a way of storing transactions in a way that are immutable, which means that they can never be deleted. They are confirmed by everybody, so everyone has the same information. And most importantly, they reduce the cost of trust, which means that you don't have to pay someone in the middle to verify that a transaction has occurred. So they'll be referred to as blockchains, distributed ledgers, all kinds of things. But they are, as I see them, there are blockchains for money, which are largely cryptocurrencies, and blockchains for data. And they serve different purposes. So there's no sort of, blockchain is one thing. It's actually quite a few ideas around a common thread. So next up is who in the music industry will benefit most from using blockchain. So that depends on whether you're talking about blockchains for data or blockchains as more as a currency. I think that people who try and use blockchains in sort of the money side of things by creating fancy coins or other things will be largely disappointed in the long run. But I think those that use blockchains for systems of information, for intelligence around data, I think we'll see immense benefits, and that will be everybody. There's a lot of scams going on right now. A lot of artists, I think, are being taken advantage of, and which is pretty miserable because that's we don't want that. But I think that in the longer term, the whole of the music industry will use blockchains. They may not know that they are, but the underpinning of trust, reduction in the cost of trust, and in ways of working, much like cloud is today. We use cloud all the time. We just don't think about it. Blockchains will be similar, but we will feel a lot better about our information than we do when we put it on Facebook. Okay, next question. Musicians are well known for only wanting to focus on making music. Why should musicians care about blockchain, copyright and ownership of music? So, one of the things that occurred to me about musicians is they're often pigeonholed as just wanting, as this question is done, focus on music. But let's bear in mind that they use to create music these days some of the most advanced technology that we know of. If you look at Ableton, or you look at Pro Tools, or you look at various ways of remixing, it's an incredibly detailed, complicated, and difficult process. And so what we're talking about when we talk about implementing, solid data strategies around blockchains is not hard for them to understand. It's hard for some people to understand, but it's not beyond them. And so the challenge that I threw out to myself 4 years ago when I first started to talk about this, but the challenge I would put to any artist is this: do you want to have your music travel in 27-year-old file formats like WAV, or 24-year-old file formats like MP3, in which you have to rely on a host of third parties to get the information correct? Or would you like to, at inception of the music, digitally encode your rights information into a modern format and have that information be immutable to the blockchain, as in it's written there forever, and reside with the media wherever it goes? So it's basically, do you want to use vintage, quarter-century-year-old technology, or do you want to use modern, best-in-class, safe, protective technology? And to me, I think that musicians will always be able to focus on making music. The difference will be if they choose to place it into a more modern system, they will get more money out of it. And eventually, if we get it right, and if those that are working on this get it right, other than the little company that we've started, then it will be seamless for them. It'll be as easy as using cloud or email or internet, in general. So I think that they should care about it because they should be experimenting and trialing it, and it's not beyond them. It's actually right in their sweet spot, because a DAW, a DAW, or a digital workstation like Pro Tools, etc., is way more complicated than some of these blockchain apps should be when they deploy. Next question, is it in everyone's best interest to move towards blockchain, or will there be resistance? Again, the caveat on the question is, do they move towards blockchain as in coins and ICOs, or blockchain as in data? If they choose to move towards then the ICOs and the coins, I think that that's a dangerous path, because I don't think that has been tried and tested yet. Blockchains for data are a lot more solid. The principles underlying them are fairly familiar, revolutionary but familiar in the way that they operate. And so I would say that there's two camps, and I think that it's in everyone's best interest to move towards blockchains for better data, particularly if you're going to use AIs and machine learning on that data. I think that it's not going to be in everyone's best interest to move towards more coin-based systems, or crypto systems, because I think that incentives are not necessarily aligned with all parties. So there will be resistance. There's resistance to everything. The music industry is famous for having a very thick immune system, which repels all new ideas, a lot of them. The musicians are not in that camp. The musicians embrace new ideas, which is why people like Imogen Heap have really led the charge as far as this type of thinking from the music community. I think that they will, of course, be the digital pioneers, and everyone else will follow in. But resistance is normal, because the music industry thought MP3 was a virus, and so repelled it, when in fact it was actually arguably a vitamin. So, forgive the analogy, but that's kind of how I look at it. Blockchain would be a megavitamin, let's put it that way, or a multivitamin. Next up, there are obvious problems within our industry when it comes to payments. Can blockchain technology help make sure money is more evenly spread out between all parties? The answer is no, and I disagree with the question. I don't think that there are obvious problems with payments. I think there are obvious problems with identifying who to pay. Not how to pay them, but identifying who to pay. And we mustn't confuse people not liking splits or not liking the way that payments are made with them being somehow inefficient or wrong. People pay badly, but people also choose to go with companies and systems that pay badly. People don't like the rates, but that doesn't mean you have to do them. It's not either or. It's a choice. And so blockchains in and of themselves cannot handle the size, speed, and scale of the music industry. If anyone tells you that they can, that would be fiction. What I propose, and have proposed for close to 4 years, is we have to get the substrate layer correct. So if we can identify everybody and give them a digital footprint, if you will, within the system, then you can build payment rails on top that know exactly who to pay. But today we haven't got that. And so I think that there are no problems paying people. There are problems identifying the correct people. We can argue if they're being paid enough, but again, most of those paths are optional, and people choose to go to places that pay badly. And I don't know why, but that's their choice. And it seems crazy to me, but there we go. Cool. How long do you think it will take to fully transition? I don't know that there will be a full transition. I don't think that that's a logical thing to say. I think that people will adopt in blockchains in the same way that cloud was adopted. If it will be incumbent upon companies to get products right that people want to use. And thus far, the blockchains that focus more on the data side of things will have a fast adoption if they do a good job of building good products. The blockchains for payments and currency will need the blockchains to scale first. And thus far, we have no indication that that's going to be doable in the near future. So I'm not going to make a specific prediction, but I'll say that those are the challenges to look at. Next one is, What are the challenges that exist to transition from our current system to a new one based on blockchain technology? Again, it depends on blockchain or data versus blockchain for money. But effectively, the challenges will be the industry's heightened, thickened immune system that repels everything new that comes at it, on the data side of things anyway. But luckily, that's actually being broken down, and there are a lot of very smart people at the larger companies looking at this in depth now. But the challenges will be not understanding it. And there's a huge amount of noise around the ICO, or initial coin offering space, that is making a lot of people say it's just a scam, because most of the ICOs are scams. They're not decentralized protocol plays. They're just ways of making money. And so I think that the challenges will be that a lot of the noise is, it's hard to hear the true protocol plays for the noise. So that's something that needs to be worked on. But the challenges are going to be as they were with cloud, or as they were with going from CD to digital. It's just a transformation. But luckily, there's some very smart people working on the problem in the right way and for the right reasons, and that's got something going for it. Next one, with the recent Facebook issues on data protection and targeting, could blockchain one day make the music industry move away from digital advertising on social media platforms? It is insanity that the music industry and artists and labels have built their presence on platforms like Facebook to the disadvantage of platforms that they own. So no, blockchains won't solve that problem, because it's a business model and a decision that people have made that I've long argued is insane. And so if people choose to monetize through advertising, that's their choice. It's their choice to build their houses on social media platforms. But I've always advocated for a strategy of building on platforms that you own and control. And if there are blockchain-backed systems that will protect data and do better reporting, amazing. But that's actually a separate issue. Next one, Spotify recently purchased Media Chain. What do you think this implies for the future of Spotify strategy? I don't think it implies much. I don't particularly understand the reasoning behind it, and I haven't seen anything deployed from it, but it would be great if there was something, because the team at Media Chain are incredibly smart, and they built something very cool. So it would be amazing to see it deployed. Are there any associated negative factors with moving towards blockchain as an industry? Again, blockchains for data? No. I think it's nothing but a positive. It will require a huge amount of getting stuff right. I think that we've got a strategy that makes sense. If it's blockchain coins and ICOs and tokens, I think that there's a disadvantage. And I think that again, it's going to be about seeing through the noise. Because there's a lot of noise out there right now. But to me, having better information on how to contact and pay the right people will never be a bad thing. Last question. You're widely regarded as one of the key players within blockchain. You will join us at IMS Ibiza to deliver a keynote and a blockchain 101. What can we expect? I'm going to tell the truth as I see it. That may not make me popular in certain areas, but that's okay. I've been working on this for almost 4 years, and I really do believe that that this is the future. We need to lay down the digital rails as they go forward, and what I'm going to try and do is lay that out in a way that is not partisan, that is going to tell it like it is, and I've spent the last 10 years focusing on ways to get artists paid more and better. And I don't think we have the digital tools to do that today, because we don't know who the artists are, and they have no way to digitally encode their information into their music. And I can't believe it's 2018 and that is still the case. So I'll hopefully explain that. And I've got an amazing video which will show blockchain in about 3 minutes, which will help. And I look forward to being there, and I'm honored to be asked to do these questions and to be a part of it. So thank you.